Stop. Don't touch your phone because in the next 60 seconds, something will try to steal your life. Your notifications, your deadlines, your fear, even your own past. Most people wake up and get drafted into a war. They didn't choose. The news chooses their mood messages, choose their priorities, and yesterday chooses their confidence. But picture this, 4:30 a.m. in Rome. Winter air, a single candle shaking in the dark. Marcus Aurelius, an emperor with armies, gold, and power, opens his eyes, and he feels the same thing you feel: pressure, uncertainty, a mind that won't stay quiet. And before he commands an empire, he does one private thing: he commands himself. Not with motivation, with discipline, not with a perfect morning routine, with 5 sentences, simple, sharp, unbreakable. Say them each morning, and you won't just have a better day. You'll become the kind of person the world can't easily shake. Ready, breathe once, and let Marcus train your mind. Phrase 1, I receive this day, I don't resist it. Most of the exhaustion you feel isn't caused by what happens to you, but by how hard you fight what has already happened. You wake up late and immediately argue with reality. You hit traffic and negotiate with time. Someone disappoints you and your mind replays it on a loop. Before the day has truly begun, your energy is already spent. Marcus Aurelius understood this deeply. He ruled an empire during plague, famine, betrayal, and war, and yet he reminded himself each morning not to resist the day, but to meet it as it is. He wrote, accept the things to which fate binds you, not because those things were pleasant, but because resistance wastes life. When you resist reality, you burn energy before the battle even begins. So pause for a moment and breathe once slowly and say it with me. I receive this day, I don't resist it. This sentence is not about giving up. It's about positioning yourself wisely. If it rains, you don't fight the sky. If traffic slows you down, you don't bargain with time. If someone lets you down, you don't collapse into shock as if disappointment were a surprise. You breathe, you adapt, and you respond. Acceptance does not make you passive. It makes you precise. It allows you to conserve your strength for what actually matters. Modern psychology supports this ancient wisdom. Studies show that psychological resistance significantly increases stress levels even when circumstances remain unchanged. The situation stays the same, but your suffering multiplies. Marcus knew this long before neuroscience could explain it. That's why he trained himself to say yes to the moment and then act with clarity. When something goes wrong today, try this simple practice. Stop for 3 seconds. Label the moment by saying, this is happening. Then whisper quietly, accepted. Now act. That small pause sends a signal to your nervous system that you are safe and in control, and it returns your ability to choose wisely. Acceptance is not surrender. It is the moment you stop bleeding energy and start moving forward. But Marcus also knew something else. Even when you stop resisting the world, your own mind can still become your greatest enemy. Thoughts will still rise, stories will still form, and emotions will still demand your attention. That is why the next sentence is just as important, because once you receive the day, you must learn to govern the voice inside your head. Praise 2. My mind is mine. Your mind speaks before you even open your eyes. Before the day begins, before your feet touch the floor, before the world makes a single demand, there is already a voice inside your head telling stories. Some of them sound urgent, some of them sound familiar, some of them sound like truth. But here is the question Marcus Aurelius forced himself to ask every morning: why should every thought be obeyed? Marcus ruled Rome during one of its most unstable periods. Plague wiped out cities. Generals betrayed loyalties. The future of the empire was uncertain, and yet instead of blaming the chaos outside, Marcus turned inward. He wrote to himself not as an emperor, but as a student of the mind. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. This wasn't poetry, it was survival strategy. Most people never learn this. They wake up and immediately become passengers in their own head. A thought appears and they follow it without question. Anxiety shows up and they assume it must be true. Fear speaks and they treat it like a warning siren. Regret knocks and they replay the past as if repetition might change the ending. The mind produces noise, and they mistake noise for instruction. So pause for a moment, take a slow breath in, and say it clearly, even if only in your head: my mind is mine. Say it again, slower: my mind is mine. This is not positive thinking. This is ownership. Modern neuroscience tells us that the average human brain generates tens of thousands of thoughts per day, and the majority of them are repetitive. Many are negative. If every thought were a command, we would never know peace. Marcus understood this centuries ago. He did not try to silence his mind because silence is not control. He trained himself to observe it. He wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." That meant one thing very clearly: if you don't choose your thoughts, they will choose you. Think about how often your mind pulls you into arguments that don't exist, conversations that never happened, futures that are imagined but emotionally real. Your body reacts as if the threat is present even when nothing is happening. Your heart rate increases, your muscles tense, your focus collapses, and all of it begins with a thought that you never questioned. Marcus practiced questioning them all. He reminded himself that thoughts are events in the mind, not facts carved into reality. When fear showed up, he didn't say, "I'm afraid." He noticed it. He stepped back. He observed. That single shift changed everything. Because the moment you can say, "I am noticing fear," you are no longer trapped inside it. You have created distance, and distance is where freedom lives. Try this now. Don't analyze it. Just do it. Take one slow breath in, then out, and repeat, "My mind is mine." You are not denying thoughts. You are placing them in their proper position. Psychological research confirms what Marcus discovered through discipline. Studies using brain imaging show that labeling thoughts and emotions instead of identifying with them significantly reduces emotional reactivity. The brain calms. The nervous system stabilizes. You regain access to reason. In other words, the moment you observe a thought instead of obeying it, you take the wheel back. Marcus never believed that peace meant having a quiet life. He believed peace meant having a trained mind. That's why he warned himself not to be dragged around by impressions. He wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. Your estimate, your interpretation, your story." That realization is uncomfortable because it removes excuses. It means your suffering is not always caused by the world, but by how you relate to it. And that is also what makes it empowering. Because if your mind is yours, then your response is yours. Today, when a stressful thought appears, don't fight it. Fighting creates resistance, and resistance gives the thought more power. Instead, notice it. Name it. I'm noticing anxiety. I'm noticing frustration. I'm noticing fear. Then return to your breath. This is not avoidance. This is training. Marcus did this repeatedly. He didn't expect perfection. He expected awareness. He slipped corrected and returned. That was his discipline, and that can be yours. Every time you catch yourself being pulled into unnecessary worry, you have already won once. Awareness is the first victory. Say it again now calmly, "My mind is mine." Once you truly understand this, something subtle but powerful happens. Overwhelm begins to shrink. Problems stop feeling infinite. The fog lifts just enough for you to see what actually matters. When the mind is no longer screaming in every direction, clarity appears naturally, and clarity leads to action. Not frantic action, not reactive action, but deliberate movement. The kind of movement Marcus relied on when he faced decisions that shaped history. That is why the sentence prepares you for the next one. Because once your mind belongs to you, you are finally able to ask the only question that matters next. Not what if everything goes wrong. Not how do I fix my whole life. But simply this: what is the next right thing to do right now? And that question opens the door to the third phrase, the one that turns calm into momentum and discipline into forward motion. Phrase 3, I will do the next right thing. Once your mind becomes quiet enough to listen, a new problem often appears. Not chaos, not fear, but something just as paralyzing: overwhelm. You suddenly see how much there is to do, how many decisions remain, how far you still feel from where you want to be. This is where most people freeze. Not because they are weak, but because they are trying to carry too much at once. Marcus Aurelius knew this feeling well. He ruled an empire that could not be fixed in a single lifetime. Plagues did not end overnight. Wars did not resolve cleanly. People did not suddenly become loyal just because he wished it. And yet he did not collapse under the weight of it all. Instead, he trained himself to reduce life to something manageable. He wrote to himself again and again, not about grand victories, but about small, controllable actions. He reminded himself that clarity does not come before action. Clarity comes from action. That is why the third sentence matters so deeply. I will do the next right thing. Say it with me now, slowly without rushing it. I will do the next right thing. This sentence is not ambitious. It is precise. It strips away fantasy and forces you back into the present moment. Not tomorrow, not the entire plan, not the version of your life you wish already existed. Just the next right thing. Most overwhelm is created by asking the wrong question. People ask, how do I fix everything? Or how do I get my whole life together? Marcus never asked questions like that. He asked, what is mine to do right now? Because that question has an answer. The others do not. Modern psychology confirms this ancient insight. Studies on cognitive load show that the brain performs significantly worse when faced with too many options or undefined goals. Decision fatigue sets in. Motivation collapses. But when tasks are broken into single concrete actions, follow-through increases dramatically. This is not about discipline alone. It is about how the human nervous system works. Marcus learned this not in a laboratory, but in the pressure of real leadership. There were days he could not save Rome, days he could not stop sickness, days he could not trust the people closest to him. But there was always something he could do. Write a letter, issue a command, listen carefully, remain calm, act justly. He understood that progress is built from small decisions made consistently, not from heroic bursts of effort. Imagine a man standing at the edge of a wide river. He wants to reach the other side, but he cannot jump across. If he stands there imagining the far shore, he will never move. But if he looks down and sees the next stone beneath his feet, crossing becomes possible. Life works the same way. You don't cross by visualizing the destination. You cross by stepping on the next stone. So pause for a moment and breathe once. Then say it again, I will do the next right thing. Notice how your body responds to that sentence. There is less pressure in it, less demand, less drama. That's because it removes the impossible burden of solving everything and replaces it with something human-sized. When you feel stuck today, do not negotiate with motivation. Motivation is unreliable. Instead, choose one small action that moves you forward. Drink a glass of water, stand up and stretch, write the first sentence of the email you've been avoiding, make the call, clean one corner of the room. These actions may feel insignificant, but they restore momentum. And momentum is one of the most powerful psychological forces available to you. Marcus wrote, waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. That line is often quoted but rarely applied. What he meant was simple: stop thinking your way into change. Act your way into it. Action clarifies values. Action reveals direction. Action builds self-trust. Every time you do the next right thing, no matter how small, you send a message to your nervous system that you are capable. That message compounds. Over time, it becomes confidence. Not loud confidence. Quiet confidence. The kind that doesn't panic when things get hard. There is another reason this sentence matters. It protects you from perfectionism. Perfectionism disguises itself as high standards, but in reality, it often hides fear. Fear of failing, fear of choosing wrong, fear of starting. Marcus had no patience for this. He understood that waiting for the perfect moment is a form of avoidance. Life does not reward hesitation. It responds to engagement. Say it again now, calmly and firmly, I will do the next right thing. You don't need to see 10 steps ahead. You need to see one. And once you take it, the next step reveals itself. This is how Marcus made decisions under immense pressure. He did not rush. He did not freeze. He acted with what he knew, where he was using what he had. As overwhelm fades, something else begins to surface. A deeper question. Not just what should I do, but how should I treat people while I do it? Because action without character can become destructive. Efficiency without virtue becomes cruelty. Marcus knew this too. That is why this third sentence naturally leads to the fourth. Once you are moving forward again, once momentum has returned, you must decide what kind of person you will be as you act. And that decision is captured in the next phrase, the one that turns discipline into humanity and strength into trust. Let me be useful. Let me be kind. Praise 4. Let me be useful. Let me be kind. Once you begin moving again, once you stop freezing and start acting, a deeper question quietly rises to the surface. It's not just about what you do, but how you do it, because action alone is not enough. History is full of people who acted decisively but left damage behind them. Marcus Aurelius understood that strength without virtue eventually turns against itself. That is why he paired discipline with character and why the fourth sentence matters so much. Let me be useful. Let me be kind. Say it with me now slowly without rushing it. Let me be useful. Let me be kind. This sentence sounds simple, almost gentle, but Marcus did not mean it in a soft or passive way. He ruled through betrayal, criticism, and constant pressure. He did not live in a world of politeness. He lived in a world of survival. And yet he wrote, kindness is invincible if it is sincere, not pretended or forced. To him, kindness was not weakness. It was strength that had learned restraint. Marcus never romanticized people. He expected them to be selfish, arrogant, dishonest, and ungrateful. In fact, he listed these traits explicitly in his writings. But he added something crucial: even when you meet people like this, you must not become them. That was the real challenge. Not avoiding difficult people, but refusing to let their behavior shape your character. Most people mistake kindness for compliance. They think being kind means saying yes when they want to say no, staying quiet when something matters, or avoiding conflict at all costs. Marcus believed the opposite. True kindness requires self-control. It requires patience. It requires the discipline to respond with clarity instead of ego, to speak firmly without cruelty, to listen without surrendering your values. Modern psychology supports this ancient idea. Research from Harvard shows that people who practice intentional kindness experience lower stress levels, stronger emotional regulation, and greater long-term resilience. Not because the world treats them better, but because they stop wasting energy on hostility and resentment. Kindness protects the mind of the one who practices it. Think about the people who feel most grounding to be around. They don't dominate conversations. They don't rush to prove themselves. Their presence feels steady, calm, safe. That is not accidental. That is practiced. Marcus would say that their inner world is ordered. And when your inner world is ordered, it shows in how you treat others. So pause for a breath and say it again. Let me be useful. Let me be kind. Usefulness matters here. Marcus did not believe in kindness without contribution. He believed in service, not as self-sacrifice, but as purpose. To be useful meant to make the situation better even slightly, to help where you can, to add clarity instead of confusion, to reduce suffering instead of spreading it. Today, usefulness might look very small. It might mean listening fully instead of waiting to speak. It might mean giving credit instead of taking it. It might mean helping quietly without announcing it. These acts don't look impressive, but they shape identity. Every time you choose usefulness over ego, you reinforce who you are becoming. Marcus warned himself not to perform goodness for applause. He believed that virtue loses its power when it seeks recognition. Real kindness is quiet. It does not demand validation. It does not keep score. It simply acts according to principle. This is difficult work because the ego resists it. The ego wants to win arguments, prove superiority, and defend itself at all costs. Kindness asks you to pause before reacting. It asks you to consider the humanity of the person in front of you, even when they are difficult. Carl Jung captured this truth when he wrote, "Knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darkness of other people." Marcus lived this insight long before psychology named it. Say it once more, gently but firmly. Let me be useful. Let me be kind. Kindness does not mean allowing harm. Marcus was clear about boundaries. He believed in justice, but he also believed that cruelty poisons the one who practices it. When you respond with calm clarity instead of hostility, you protect your own mind. You stay aligned with your values, and that alignment is a form of inner strength that cannot be taken from you. Over time, this way of living changes how you move through the world. You stop entering rooms looking for validation. You stop needing to dominate conversations. You stop reacting impulsively. Your presence becomes steadier. People may not always understand you, but they will feel something different around you. That difference is trust. And yet Marcus never let kindness turn into complacency. He balanced compassion with urgency, because there was always one final truth guiding his actions, a truth that sharpened his focus and gave weight to every choice. He remembered that time was limited, that life was fragile, that none of this was guaranteed. That awareness leads directly to the final sentence, the one that cuts through distraction, the one that wakes you up completely, the one Marcus carried with him every day. This life is loaned, I will not waste it. Praise 5, this life is loaned, I will not waste it. At some point, calm is no longer enough. Discipline alone is no longer enough. There has to be something that sharpens every decision you make, something that cuts through distraction, hesitation, and delay. For Marcus Aurelius, that final anchor was simple and unsettling: this life is loaned, and it can be taken back without warning. Marcus practiced what the Stoics called memento mori, remember that you will die. Not to become fearful and not to turn life dark, but to stay awake. He ruled during a time when death was never abstract. Plague could sweep through cities overnight. War could erase years of planning in a single moment. Loss was constant, and instead of numbing himself to it, Marcus used that reality to sharpen his focus. He wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. So pause for a breath now and say it quietly but clearly, this life is loaned. I will not waste it." Most people don't intentionally waste their lives. They simply assume there will be more time. They postpone conversations that matter. They delay changes they know they need to make. They tolerate situations that drain them, telling themselves they'll deal with it later. And later slowly turns into years. Marcus refused to live that way. He reminded himself again and again, do not act as if you had 10,000 years to throw away. This wasn't pressure, it was clarity. Modern psychology confirms what Marcus understood intuitively. When people are reminded that time is limited, they make better decisions. They act more in line with their values. They become less reactive and more intentional. Remembering mortality doesn't make life heavier, it makes it more precise. Petty anxieties lose their grip. The fear of embarrassment fades. The need for approval weakens. You stop obsessing over what doesn't matter and start paying attention to what does. Say it again now, slowly, this life is loaned. I will not waste it. Wasting life rarely looks dramatic. Most of the time, it looks quiet. It looks like scrolling without noticing time passing. It looks like staying stuck in routines you've outgrown. It looks like waiting for the perfect moment to begin. Marcus believed the real tragedy was not dying, but failing to live while you are alive. That's why he treated each ordinary day with seriousness, not in a grim way, but in a respectful one. He believed every moment was an opportunity to live with integrity, presence, and purpose. Try this simple practice today or tonight. Ask yourself one honest question: if today repeated itself for a year, would I be proud of how I lived it? Not in terms of productivity alone, but in how you showed up, how you treated people, and how present you were. This question is not meant to judge you, it's meant to guide you. Marcus did not live without mistakes. He lived with course correction. Every morning was a chance to begin again with clearer eyes. That is why he wrote these reminders to himself daily. Not because he forgot once, but because forgetting is human. Remembering is discipline. So breathe once more and say it with intention: this life is loaned. I will not waste it. These 5 sentences are not motivation, they are training. They were written to steady a mind under pressure, and they still work because human nature has not changed. Say them tomorrow morning before the world speaks to you. You don't need a new life. You need a new beginning to your day. If you want to make this real, do this now. Comment the one phrase you need most today, and tomorrow morning come back, replay the first minute of this video before you touch your phone. On Making Life Better, we don't chase motivation. We train it daily. Subscribe if you want more Stoic tools you can actually use. And remember, you don't rise into peace. You practice it at dawn. Comment one word: discipline, not because you have it, but because you're training it.